Dragonwilds has a major problem, but this update might finally be what fixes it. For months, players have used the same word to describe combat in RuneScape Dragonwilds, and it's not broken, it's not that it's terrible, but just simply clunky. And instead of ignoring that feedback, Jagex just laid out a full plan to rebuild how combat feels before 1.0. And what really stood out to me wasn't any specific combat feature. Instead, it was actually the fact that Jagex led this entire blog article with community feedback. Thousands of survey responses, whether it's Discord, Reddit, Steam reviews, social media, you name it here, they're not trying to convince all of us that the combat in the game feels good. Instead, they are openly admitting that players are unhappy with the current state of combat in the game. And that tells me that this is not just another balancing patch. This is Jagex taking a step back and asking, how do we make combat feel better? Now, here's where I think a lot of players misunderstand this update and what the objective is by revamping combat. Jagex is not setting out here to make the players stronger. Instead, their goal is to focus on trying to make combat feel smoother compared to clunky, and there's a big difference. Think about how many times you went to cast a spell and you accidentally hit it one extra time to continue the combo out while an enemy is approaching you and you have no way to stop the animation, so you inevitably get smacked or potentially even die. Or think about trying to swap an element mid-combat, whether it's from fire to air or even the new water one, and you simply can't do it without opening up your menu. Or maybe even swapping weapons, coming from a staff to a single-handed weapon, or even having to equip the shield secondary on top of that instead of it automatically being applied. Or maybe you've popped off the perfect parry that you were so excited about just to be left with no stamina to follow up with another counter attack, or potentially leave yourself vulnerable and open for the enemy to counter attack after you've parried them. And all these little frustrations here are exactly what players are referring to when they are calling the combat in Dragonwilds clunky. And all these things, interestingly enough here, have been addressed in Jagex's plans here going forward with these combat updates. We've got walking while casting, we've got animation cancellation options, we have a quick cast, we've got camera relative aiming, we have a faster way to access your gear. I mean, you name it here, all these things are not set out to increase your damage or make you stronger. They instead simply let you spend more time fighting your enemy and less time fighting controls. And once combat actually feels smoother, well, this is where things get really exciting. Right now, landing a perfect parry feels good, but after an update like this, it'll restore half your stamina, unlock a cinematic visceral attack, and blocking itself becomes more responsive. And that's exactly the kind of reward that skilled players have been asking for. They're also planning to remove the annoying stuff. Now, these probably won't be the features that everybody is talking about, but truthfully here, these will probably be the ones that most players feel the most. We've got rune cycling here, again, very nice for quickly being able to swap the elements when utilizing a magic staff. We also have arrow cycling, so to be able to swap to the different arrow types, again, instead of opening your tab menu to then right-click something in the heat of combat. We also have auto offhand equipping, so again, if you have a shield, for instance, equipped, once you have it equipped and you swap back to that one-handed weapon or a one-handed anything that allows you to hold the shield will automatically come back out and will not force you to equip the shield secondary, which is again a big frustration. They're planning on lowering the stamina cost for jumping inside of the game, again, to allow all of our jumping monkeys and kangaroos out there to be able to just sprint and jump around the entire map with a lower stamina cost. They're going to be reducing the amount of damage that players take from falling, and additionally adding in some forgiveness here for ledges, being too close to a ledge or looking off the edge to try to see something and potentially slipping and falling to your death. They kind of go hand in hand here, and it is going to be interesting to see how they play these two out, because they're probably going to have to tweak a little bit back and forth, whether they over tweak it or under tweak it, to just really fine tune it here for what players want. And these aren't flashy or crazy new, never before seen features in video games. However, though, these are directly reducing the amount of frustrations that players have with the combat system here in RuneScape Dragonwilds, and it's going to make the entire experience feel smoother. This is Jagex directly listening to player feedback and then looking to make those changes changes to make players happy, and that is absolutely a W here and something that I'm very excited to see. And combat isn't just getting smoother here for this update, it's also getting deeper and expansive here with introducing new systems. The first one they talk about is the special attack bar. If you guys are old school RuneScape fans, you're probably familiar with this, but basically this special attack that we now have across weapons is no longer going to be consuming stamina, and instead it's going to be consuming its own special attack bar, which is going to basically allow us to utilize whatever abilities we want, conserve stamina for things that actually matter, but we'll be limited to utilize the special ability according to the meter and how much we have full here for our special attack bar. Again, it's going to add some of that old RuneScape-ish stuff back here into Dragonwilds, and it's really going to add some diversity when it comes to, your overall combat mechanics inside of the game. And they're planning to add wands as a new weapon type here to Dragonwilds. They did give us a little bit of a sneak peek of what we can expect, basically a faster, snappier way to attack, more on the move, like mobility when it comes to magic. It's not going to hit as hard, it's going to be doing relatively low damage on every single hit, but it will allow you to attack a lot faster and on the move. However, they did also still mention, or you can hang back from a distance, a safe distance anyways, and attack with a staff. My guess is the staff's still going to take a lot longer to cast compared to the wand, but it is going to be doing more considerable damage on its initial hit. But I think in general, it's a really good addition. It's going to expand the magic tree and the magic class here for Dragonwilds. And to top it all off here, they mentioned tons of changes and manipulations and tweaks and stuff related to all of the individual skills and the different class sets that players play here inside of the game. Obviously, we'll find out more information as they do develop some of this stuff and actually put it out here in dev blogs, but just know they're doing a ton of TLC related to all of the individual skill sets and combat mechanics inside of the game to make it a lot smoother and give players really a lot more decisions instead of giving them a lot more buttons. And I actually don't think that it is a coincidence this update is happening after Umbral Sands. Dragonwilds has evolved. Early on, combat wasn't the star of the show, but today we have fight caves, Nightmare Crucible, red dragons, bigger enemy groups, harder encounters. I mean, combat has become one of the biggest parts of the game. So if combat doesn't feel great, well, obviously everything else starts to feel worse too. And to me here, the animation canceling feature is exciting, right? The new wands being added into the game is exciting. The special attack changes and cinematic visceral look is exciting, but honestly, I don't think any of those things are really the biggest announcement here for this update. To me, it's honestly that Jagex is listening. This entire dev blog only exists because players spoke up, and instead of defending the system, Jagex admitted that it needed some work, and to me, that is exactly what early access should look like. Listen, improve, and repeat. And if these changes land exactly how Jagex is describing them, well, then I think Dragonwilds 1.0 launch later this year is going to feel like a completely different game than what we received at the start of early access. From delivering on content promise to a much smoother combat, less clunky experience, and just the natural willingness to listen to the players' feedback and then make changes accordingly to what they see fit is absolutely going to set Dragonwilds here on the path of becoming one of the strongest open world survival crafting games. With that being said, if you guys want to check out the full patch notes, I'll be sure to put them down below in the description because I did cherry pick out the things that I thought was most important and what would really affect the most players here for Dragonwilds when this update does drop into the game. Also, if you yourself are looking to jump into Umbral Sands here for the DLC, be sure to check out the video you see here on screen, as I do a very good job of breaking down a lot of the stuff that the game does not tell you that you absolutely do not want to go into Umbral Sands without knowing.